A roof over your head. It's the American dream. A promise that if you work hard, you can build a life somewhere stable, somewhere safe. But by the mid-20th century, it was clear that for millions of families, the market alone wasn't going to deliver on that promise. Across the country, and right here in Virginia, communities began asking, who steps in when the private market leaves people behind?
Housing authorities are created by a municipality, so ours is the city of Waynesboro, when they determined that there was a need for subsidized or affordable housing to meet the needs of the community. The Housing Authority was officially created in 1962, and then our first complexes were built in the early 70s.
In cities like Waynesboro, that answer came in the form of local housing authorities, public bodies created specifically to build and manage affordable housing for working families, seniors, and those with disabilities. What started modest grew steadily, block by block.
Our first complexes were built on 10th Street and New Hope Road, different areas of the city, because again, we want to be as versatile as possible and be as accessible as possible to the community. So those were our first two complexes, again, built in the early 70s. We built additional housing in the Ivanhoe area. Then in 1985, we built Springdale, and that is a complex for elderly and or disabled. There was an opportunity with HUD to apply for funding, and we did so, and we built our King Avenue project. That's really the last public housing project that we built. Again, a need was determined by the Housing Authority and the city. In addition to, we built a learning center for our residents, and at the learning center is where we partner with the Department of Education, and we do GED instruction as well as ESOL.
By 1985, the Waynesboro Redevelopment and Housing Authority had grown from its first 61 units into a network of properties spanning the city, each one representing a family with a place to stand. Nationally, federal housing policy was shifting. Alongside traditional public housing, a new model was emerging, one that gave residents more flexibility and choice. In Waynesboro, that shift took root in 1988.
The main programs that the Housing Authority administers are public housing and the Housing Choice Voucher program. The public housing program is our apartments. We have 188 apartments scattered throughout the city. We are actually the landlord. You pay basically 30% of your income towards rent and utilities. A voucher program is where you rent from a private landlord, and we subsidize your rent based on your income and basically pay 30% of your income. We started out with about 24 vouchers in 1988, and now we have 486 vouchers. That's actually our allocation of vouchers from the Department of Housing, Urban Development. Another feature of the voucher program is that you can port with your voucher. Basically what that means is once you live in the city of Waynesboro for a year, then you can take that voucher and port to another housing authority who has the voucher program. And I think that's another reason why they kind of changed the verbiage to Housing Choice Voucher, because with the voucher program, you have a choice where you live, and then you have a choice if you choose to move to another jurisdiction, as long as that housing authority has a voucher program and is accepting vouchers.
Affordable housing was only part of the equation. By the 1990s, housing authorities across the country were being challenged to think bigger, not just shelter, but stability. In Waynesboro, that meant a new kind of program, one built on the idea that a home is a starting line, not a finish line.
Back in the early 90s, the Housing Authority applied for a grant offered through the Department of Housing, Urban Development, the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. We've been doing that since the early 90s. It is a program where they enroll into the program, and through our housing counselors and various partnerships throughout the city and the county, we are able to assist our clients in overcoming barriers so they can become more self-sufficient, whatever that is for them. Some of our residents need to further their education. Some of our residents need to get a driver's license. Some of our residents want to get post-secondary education, college, get better jobs, get job training. So the actual service plans that are developed between the resident and the family self-sufficiency counselors are all catered to meet the specific needs of the client, because everyone's needs are not the same and everyone does not have the same barriers. One of the main factors of the program is that once you enroll into the program, you have the ability to earn an escrow. And basically what that is a savings account. As your earned income increases, we are able to match those funds and establish a savings account for you. Once you successfully graduate from the program, that account is yours.
Programs like the Family Self-Sufficiency Program were designed for a specific era, one where the primary challenge was poverty of income. But as Waynesboro entered the 2020s, a different kind of crisis was arriving. One that would test not just the housing authority, but the entire community. Nationally, the numbers tell a stark story. In 2010, the median American home sold for $222,700. By 2026, that number had nearly doubled, topping $403,200. A surge driven by low inventory, rising construction costs, and demand that simply outpaced supply. Rent followed the same trajectory. The national fair market rent for a two-bedroom apartment climbed from roughly $795 a month in 2010 to $1,718 by 2026. For families already stretching every dollar, those numbers weren't statistics. They were impossible choices. In Virginia, the picture looked similar. The state's median home price sat at $425,000, slightly above the national average. Renters weren't faring much better. Virginia's median two-bedroom rent of $1,573 a month is nearly in line with the national figure. In smaller cities like Waynesboro, those numbers landed with particular force.
I think what happens is you have smaller rural cities that are near larger municipalities, and when those larger municipalities explode and spread beyond their borders, they go where it is more affordable. So I think the city of Waynesboro has really seen an increase in people who don't originally live in Waynesboro coming to Waynesboro. And we've seen a lot of higher priced complexes going up. You are not seeing the wages of certain retail groups, housing groups, places like that. The wages are not keeping up with the expenses in the city of Waynesboro.
And when rent approaches mortgage territory, it isn't just low-income families who feel the pressure. It's the people who keep a city running.
Without our workforce, you wouldn't have a city of Waynesboro. Without your people working at Lowe's, without your people working at Walmart, without your law enforcement, your fire departments, your city maintenance workers, your teachers. That's your work. I mean, that's part of your workforce housing. Workforce housing, affordable housing, is not low-income housing. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. We're talking about that middle group that tends to be forgotten, that can't afford $2,500 a month in rent. I mean, that's a mortgage payment. But that's the folks we need to service, because without those folks, we don't have a workforce in the city of Waynesboro.
In Virginia and across the country, housing authorities like WRHA found themselves not just serving their traditional population, but scrambling to address a gap the private market wasn't filling. The challenge? The tools they had were built for a different problem.
We're already behind the 8 ball. We're playing catch up now. By the time statistics come out, for you to be able to utilize those statistics, to get the grants, to get the funding, those statistics are already 4 or 5 years old. So we've been playing catch up for a few years. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. I mean, we still just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and doing the best we can to help those that we're here to serve. We just got to keep moving forward.
The story of affordable housing in America has never been a straight line. It has been built in phases by communities that decided the people who serve them deserve a place to live. In Waynesboro, that work continues.
The Housing Authority tries to take advantage of any and all opportunities we have to increase the resources and the services for our residents. There's a lot of HUD grants out there that we're in the process of applying for now. We are very dedicated to providing homeownership opportunities. In the past 30 years, we have built and sold over 60 homes to first-time home buyers. We're getting ready to establish a homeownership club for our residents and participants of the Waynesboro Housing Authority. We have really established a great partnership with the City of Waynesboro, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to be able to do here in the very near future in being able to provide affordable housing, because it's not just a goal of the Housing Authority, but it's also a dedicated goal of the City of Waynesboro.
Because behind every statistic, every grant application, every unit built is a person, a family, a story of how they got there and where they're going.
We are more or less a stepping stone for them. We're here when they need us, and then once their income is such that they no longer need us, then they are able to move out and afford market rent, or they graduate off needing the voucher. I have this mindset, my staff have this mindset, that you never know what has gone on in someone's life to bring them here. And any of us could be on the other side of that window needing assistance. We've had residents that have come here, again, fallen on hard times, and they've got established, they got a roof over their head, and then they've gone on to further their education. They've gotten college degrees, and they've moved on, moved out, and had the life that they've always wanted.
The Waynesboro Redevelopment and Housing Authority has spent more than 6 decades answering the question every community eventually faces: what do we owe each other? Their answer? Built in brick and mortar, in escrow accounts and counseling sessions, in 60 homes sold and 188 more still standing, has always been the same: somewhere to start.